everyone goes to a specialist for things. So you got cancer, you go to a cancer specialist. You got some sort of medical thing, you go to a specialist. And yet, when it comes to building a house, which is generally a person's largest expense in their life, they won't use specialists. It's all dollar driven. Like, everyone wants the most they can get for the money they've got to spend. But look, from what I'm learning and definitely listening to you guys, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, it might cost them a few $1,000s up front to get someone like yourselves involved and be involved in the collaboration of the design. But ultimately, you guys can save them money short term in the build, but yeah, definitely long term in the running of the home.
And in the ease of running the home as well. It's collaborating all the systems. So, having your lights and your security and everything work all throughout the world. You can tap into your phone and see what's going on, but also having that same control program running your aircon. So, while you may have, a really good mechanical contractor who can come in and get you, really good AC, and, you can control it with your phone. Yeah. You don't want 6 different apps on your phone to control your house. You want one. And it's about knowing what's out there and utilising the products that are out there.
You can design all the systems, put all the technology in there, do the zoning that I've talked about before and all of that. But if it's not simple to use, it's not going to be used.
Yeah.
So part of what we try and do, and as an aside, after it's all designed and it's all set up and this is how it should be, it's always a good thing to get us back at the end with the contractors, and we can go through it and say, right, this was the intent, this was the design, you've installed it, you've given us a Form 16 saying you've installed it in accord with the design, now show us.
Yeah.
And because we've designed it, we know what we're looking for it to do.
Well, that's another big problem, isn't it? Like, it's all good that you guys can get involved and do the design, but I guess homeowners really need to be wary and actually make sure their builder is following through and installing it and using it how you guys have designed it to be used.
A job on the peninsula here, a 2-story, I think it was either 4 or 5 bedroom and media room. The builder's contract with the homeowner, it'll be air conditioned. That was basically it.
Yeah.
We were called in by the building authority to assist them in analysing what was going wrong here. And the contract said it'd be air conditioned. It was air conditioned, but it was a farce. They had a system set up so that you could sort of throttle off air to all these other rooms, and you'd have a gale going into the master bedroom, or if you had them all going, it'd get the house down to about 28. That's about all it'd do in summer.
Yeah.
And we went through quite a few of the other things in this place. People going in on a standard builder's contract, the builders leave themselves open, the subcontractors leave themselves open, the homeowners leave themselves open. You need to go in and get someone, the architect or the builder and the architect, to set it up and set up the frameworks and the rules and get people like us engaged so that when the house is built, it will perform and it will give you 22.5 degrees plus or minus. It will give you these sort of airflows, so it's not a gale. It will give you these lighting levels around the place. The security system will do this. If you want light zoning and switching, that it will do that. And you need that as a scope of works to be taking into the contract. Yeah. And for yourself also with the subbies, so that they all know what they're going to achieve. And then everyone's got the set of rules, and off you go, and you produce the house.
Yeah.
And then you test it to make sure it works at the end, and then everyone's happy.
Yeah, look, we're definitely, one thing we're really trying to push and get out there is scopes of work. So I can't believe the amount of like we said, it's their biggest outlay they're ever going to spend, and yet they'll make a decision based off a 1-page quote with a figure at the bottom.
Yep.
With not knowing the finer details of what type of air conditioning, what type of lighting, and all that.
Do we get taps in the bathroom?
A lot of homeowners just assume that this house is going to be a perfect house, but
and let's be honest. In the industry, most of the builders are good. Most of the builders, to different varying degrees, but they will give you your taps in the bathroom, and they will give you your toilet that's flushing and your air conditioning. But they themselves often fall victim to the subcontractor who's cutting his corners to win the job.
Yeah.
And then he's got a supplier who's cutting his corners, and all of a sudden, this cost-driven thing that you're looking at, and the end result is not what the builder wanted, not what the homeowner wanted, but that's the result.
Yeah.
And because there is no scope of work and no set of rules, you either go to the Building Services Authority or you say, yep, that's our house.
Yeah.
Well, and that's with the world being what it is. You know, we're getting a lot of Chinese imports, a lot of substitutions done that way. And while there are some good ones, with every good one there's bad ones, and a piece of insulation can look exactly like another piece of insulation, but unless it's been tested, you don't know if it's that system. And that's something we're finding as fire engineers. We're going through with the aluminium composite cladding, panel cladding at the moment, and substitutions and imports, and that's led to horrific fires in Melbourne and over at Grenfell. But it's the responsibility. Someone has to take that responsibility, and it's got to be the homeowner and the design team at the beginning that, this is what we're giving you. We're not going to give you substitutions, and, or if we do have a substitution, and if it's a tested substitution, here is the evidence of it. And, that's where having engineers and professionals involved in your design team.
The plumber goes over to, and we've had this in larger commercial, and the big kit home builders and that. The plumber will go over and he'll get all of this, these pipes and that. They don't comply to AS 3500. They're slightly different diameter. They don't fit our stuff here. They're the wrong insulation. The hot water piping, none of it's insulated. None of it complies. You go to we had a particular run there on electrical wiring, where the insulation didn't meet the Australian standards. That's getting pretty close to home. A lot of the commercial jobs we're on, we're seeing such cheap switches, particularly outside isolators. The electricians are actually buying extras so they can just change them over because they're only paying $2 or $3 for them, and they're not going back through warranty. And these things are just hopeless. I can keep going down that track. There's got to be comply with Australian standards. If it's something nominated in the contract, it's got to be proven to be as good. And who's going to do that? The subcontractor who got it for 25% less. It's going to be as good as the good one to him. But is it going to be like that for you, the builder or the homeowner? Probably not. Particularly if the insulating walls are too thin or.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like I'm really pushing. I think a lot of people, they just expect that all builders are going to be on the same page and going to be the same quality, and they don't understand how many variances there are in our industry. And I'm definitely a big believer. Like on our jobs, if it's on the plans, that's what happens, and we make sure it happens. We check with our subbies, but I'm a big believer that homeowners should, as part of their design or architect or your guys' fees, there should be included in that the professionals are paid to be an onlooker for the homeowner. So whether it's a designer or an architect, like they should at each stage, or I don't know if it has to be that every stage the builder puts a drawing or a claim in, that another person does an inspection, because ultimately homeowners don't know all the products, they don't understand them, they don't know what they are. The builder puts a claim in, then the client just pays it because they assume that everything that has been documented is what's going in there. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about with this sustainability and energy efficiency, it's in the walls. Once it's covered and with gyprock and cladding, no one knows any better.
And that's all the services. Once the gyprock's in, it's finished. It's good. Commercially, we do this all the time. Okay, 150 unit complex is a bit different to a 10 room house. But we go in at ground level when they're putting in the slab, usually the basement slab in these, but when they're putting in the slab, we go and have a look at the underground services before they pour them. They frame, they're all fixed up, ready to go, roughed in. We go then, once they've fitted off and gyprocked and finished all of that, we go then, and that's the practical completion stage. And then that's it. And then we may, if there were issues in practical completion, we may there go for a final sign-off. So usually in a house there'd be 4 inspections, sort of maximum, and each one of those you get a chance to see what the stamping is on the bit of pipe they've put in or the insulation they've got there.
Yeah.
You get to see, you know, what they've done here and there. I'm not talking about the structural slab. We don't do that. That should be checked by a structural engineer anyhow.
Yeah.
We get to look at the air conditioning unit before it's all boxed in. We get to look at how they've run the ductwork. Is it nice and straight and done correctly? We get to look at the standard of the wiring. Is it tradesman-like? Is it, and we just give a dot point report. And then it goes back to the builder, back to the developer, and they deal with it as they want to. They may want to get us back and charge the contractor for us having to come back again because he made such a muck up. But hey, who's that looking after? It's looking after the builder. It's looking after the final owner. So.
It's being the advocate for the homeowner. Like as the person who's building the home, you can't be expected to be an expert on this. And it's advocating for you guys as the builders as well. You're an easy builder to work with. You understand that we design things for a reason. But it's being out there, and this is why we've made it designed like this.
Yeah.
It helps if it's actually installed like this, because otherwise I'll get the phone call 2 years later from the homeowner going, how come my bills are so much higher than you said they would be? Like I'm never going to sit there and say I'm going to guarantee your energy bills are going to be this, but if things are done to a certain standard, I can say they're going to be lower than if they weren't done like that.
Look, I think all builders should be getting more professionals involved. Like I'm the first one to put my hand up. Like I can't know everything. Like there's that much stuff. Like we only do residential, but there's that much stuff, that like products and services that go into it. You can't have your head around everything. So, I think it's very important for other builders out there to be engaging professionals like yourself to help them out, to make sure they're getting the best product they can for their client.
And the technology is just leaps and bounds. What you did 20 years ago to what you're doing today is chalk and cheese. It really is. 20 years ago, no, we wouldn't be involved because no one cared. But now, well, they didn't. They really didn't. It was, if you're going to put it up, double brick if you can do it. Brick veneer, insulate it. That's it. Job done. And we now know it doesn't work. We know that it doesn't matter if it's double brick or brick veneer. If the orientation, the external shading is all up the creek, if the wrong windows are put in, it's still not going to work.
Yeah.
So, and if you have a look at the lightweight construction that's going in now, you really are becoming much more dependent on performance programs to see how these lightweight walls will work. How can a piece of fibro on a frame with a bit of plasterboard with some building paper perform anywhere near like a brick veneer? Okay, and that's where you sit back and you have to look at what you're doing with your R values, the installations, and the fact that it's installed properly. I mean, this wall that we do the test on and we do the analysis and it comes up really good, and then you get someone on site and they leave out a bit of insulation or they don't butt them up, they have gaps everywhere, they have heat bridges, it's not going to work. So it's got to be installed exactly as it's designed and tested. So.
Do you know much about what they're doing in the States with this? Because they in the States they seem to just do things far above and beyond what we do. Like, is it a dollar thing or is it different? Obviously, different climates, different country. Like,
look, America's got our climate, and then it's got Tasmania's climate, depending on which part of it you want to go to. But they've also got 150 million people. The reason they're so far in front of us is that they've got this huge volume of turnover. So if they get stuck into a particular type of wall type, you might do 5 of them in a year. They might do 50,000 in a year. So they do get them tested, and they do find out a bit more about it. And they use more of this prefab cool room type stuff, which is starting to worry me since we've been looking at the cladding from fire engineering.
They seem to be really big on their building science. Like their walls are like they seal everything. There's no air gaps whatsoever. They double and triple insulate their walls. They insulate their subfloors. Like they seem to go far above and beyond what we do over here.
Depending on what part of the country. And you go down to California and those sort of places, and I think you'll find they're a bit more like us.
Yeah.
But you start going up towards Canada and that, up that way, exactly, yeah, they do have the cold weather and that.
Yeah. So guys, again, back to the collaboration, one thing we really encourage our clients to do with their builders and designers is establish a real budget. So I think by establishing a real budget, then everyone is aiming for the same goal. So like, if you guys get involved with collaboration, if the builder's got the budget, the end budget in mind, the architect designer's got the budget in mind, you guys have got the budget in mind, everyone can collaborate as a team to make sure that client gets the best outcome for that budget. Like, is that, do you guys think that's a good option?
It is. If there is no budget, everyone's running around on guesswork. The builder will say to his subby, we want it to be air conditioned. We don't know what money there is there, so the subby can't price it the way he'd like to. He's stuck with, well, we'll give him the cheaper system. Maybe the client doesn't want the cheaper system. Maybe the cheaper system isn't the right system for this particular project.
Yeah.
We switch over to hydraulics. We get the same thing. Do we want 2 or 3 toilets in the place? The big difference in cost. What is the budget? Run through the lighting. We can have this lit up so that you can't read the paper at the dining room table, or we can light it up like the studio here where you need sunglasses. What is the budget? And really, what is the client trying to achieve? So it's extremely important at the start of the job for the builder and the client to set out and see where they can get to with the initial talks. Then you get the architect in and you firm that up a bit. Then you've got part of a structure in mind. Then you go and get the services professionals, the engineers. They're the people who take the architect's building and try and make it work. Once all of these people are looking at it and they have a budget, then we can start looking at scopes of work, and that'll refine the budget down. And then suddenly you've got a scope of work for a particular subcontractor, air conditioning guy. He'll be able to price that. The plumber will be able to price this. Maybe we're going to put in lots of water harvesting tanks in this because that particular client wants to water or wash cars or something and not have mineral streaks. Yeah. Maybe we're going to put in a tertiary treatment plant for the sewage because we're not on main sewer. We'll go to the electrical. Maybe he wants a huge chandelier. Well, we can look at the budget and the scope and see what this huge chandelier is really going to end up being. He might be security conscious and really want a big security system. We can look at the scope on that, cut it in, cut it out, work it together. Yeah. Outside grounds, you might want cameras on. Might be a place with 100 aviaries or something outside. We've done those. Yeah. So we go through the whole scope with it. Then we go back and do our sums, and we come back and say, right, Mr. Builder, Mr. Owner, we think that with the budget he's got, this has to be whittled down. We can put more in here because he wants that. That's definitely a no-no. You're not going to put in 50,000 litres of rainwater tanks because the budget can't stand it. You're going to do this. That cellar he wanted, we're going to make it a bit smaller, and it's going to be this and put it there. Then we can look at the orientation. Come back, and you've got a basically step one, the preliminary or schematic design done with the owner, and then you can get into getting the project on and running, finalise scopes of work, and everyone knows where you're going, and you're going to kick a goal at the end of this job. Yeah. That's my thoughts on it, and that to me is the number one tip I would give to any potential owner who wants to get a building built and get an end result that's energy efficient and works. Yeah.
It's sort of like you can't play the game if you don't know where the goalposts are, and if you have a budget at the beginning and an aim at the beginning. So what I will say to most of the builders or developers or people who come to us is, what do you want included in your energy efficiency? And I'll quite often say to a builder, they'll say, tell me what wall I need to use, and I'll be like, well, what do you want to use? And I'll tell you, if it'll work, where we have to go with that. So the budget's the biggest goalpost, and then what they want.
Yeah, lots of people seem very intimidated when you're trying to get a budget out, but they don't understand the benefits. But if they put the budget out on the table, and I think a lot of this comes down to for years, and like the old-fashioned way is you get a house design and you put it out to tender, and you just take like 9 times out of 10 they'll take the cheapest one. Clients don't understand the benefits of creating a team, finding a builder they can get on with, they trust, that's honest, an architect or designer, like people like yourselves, build that team very early on, put a budget on the table. Everyone is working towards the same goal, making sure that that client gets the absolute best product they can get for that figure.
And you'll get more for your money if you're open and upfront to begin with about what you want to spend. You will get more bang for your buck.
What do you think of the open book theory or the open book methodology?
Look, we're all for that. I'm a big fan of that. I think it does get the best products.
Yep.
I think if it's all out on the table at the beginning, and like I said, everyone can work together. So we're definitely all for that. I'm a big believer that way, and it makes it actually makes the entire job so much easier, because if they know what their tiles are worth, what their kitchen's worth, like if they come back and change something, it's easy because you're just like, well, right, that was the figure we had for it. This is the figure it is now. It's plus or minus. Like there's no trying to hide a figure. So
variations don't become a mythical figure on the bottom of a sheet. You can actually see what they are. And to push that further, do you do that with your subbies? You know, it's sort of an open book thing. They give you a price for the scope of work, and if it changes, they then say, well, rightio, that was $10,000. This one's now $9,000. So there's here we go, a theoretical saving of $1,000. Do you do that with your subbies?
Because mate, look, I think that's the only way to do it. Like, there's so many products go into a build. I don't think it's necessary to give the client every single little cost, but I'm a big believer in that, and it definitely gets them the best product. And it's the same with the subbies. So I'm very open to showing cost, but I'm definitely 100% big believer in the scopes of work. Like I believe every trade needs a very detailed scope of works for exactly what you just said. If something changes, it's on paper. So it's very easy to go, this is what we had, that's what it cost. This is what you've got now, that's what it cost. There's the difference. Keeps the job very simple. There's no arguments. Like it's on paper, it's there, you can look at it. So.
I agree entirely. We do that occasionally on commercial jobs, or actually a bit more than occasionally, and they're the jobs that seem to run a lot more.
Always run the best.
Rather than guaranteed maximum price, GMP, of 25 million for this particular job, and no one ever sees the costs, but it's coming at 25 million. You're always wondering what the percentage was and what would have happened if you had have done it. The open book method. So open book gives the owner the better way to look at it, the builder more control over his troops and negotiations. Certainly scopes of work for that to be based on are 100% must. A bit of education for the owner, why we're trying to do this energy management stuff, why we're trying to do this sustainability thing, why we want to have a look at the scope of works for all his services so that we can make his building actually work properly. And the fact that we're not scary people, we actually want to be on the team so that he gets the best result possible. And bringing that scary thing through too. The third thing that I think is important is that we have a relationship with your subbies. If we can have a relationship with the subcontractors and get across to them why we're doing this and how we're doing this, because often these guys live in isolation to the other trades. The only thing they want to do is get their stuff in first, so it's in there. Then it's someone else's problem if their stuff doesn't fit.
Well, I think the other big thing with that is, like we touched on before, like I'm a builder, but I don't know everything about what's going into the home. And like air conditioning, for example, there's plenty of aircon contractors out there that install air conditioning, but they don't have a clue on why they're using a unit, how that unit works, like why it does what it does. So again, having other professionals involved and collaborating and making sure all that ties together for the homeowner is really, really important. So, all right, just very, very quickly to wrap it up, just what's the 3 best tips you could give to a homeowner that's just thinking of starting the journey? what could they be looking for or asking for to help with sustainability and energy efficiency?
Well, for me, it's have a team, have someone you believe in, have someone you trust leading that team, communicate, collaborate, and be honest and open about what you're wanting to achieve, and like we said, what you're wanting to spend. I think that's how you're going to get your best outcome is communication, collaboration, and being open. Yeah.
Ian, what about yourself?
The communication's very important all the way through the job. Admitting that you don't know everything about the job as the building owner or the homeowner, and reaching out to the people that you trust, to the builder and to the architect and to the other professionals, so that you can get an insight back from them as to what they're trying to do for you for your money. And then set up the scopes of work so you know where you're spending your money. And then at the end of the day, having someone prove to you that what you've got isn't just 4 walls and a roof, but it's a building that works the way that you discussed and set up the scope of work at the start.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, guys. That's been really educational.
Thank you.
No problem, mate. Till the next one.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.